The rope cut into my wrist so hard that my hands started to go numb, and the hot metal of the power pole burned my back through my thin blouse. Sand blew into my eyes, my mouth, my hair, and my ears. I tried to turn my head, but the knot around my chest was too tight. Then I heard the sound that broke me the most. The sound of my own son's car driving away. The dust rose behind it like a curtain. And my daughter did not even look back. I whispered, "God, please. If this is how I will die, let it be quick." But in the empty desert, with the sun falling and the cold coming, one thought kept stabbing my heart over and over. Why would my own children leave me like this, and what were they so afraid I might say if I lived? My name is Grandma Sade. I am 67 years old. People call me Grandma, even when they are not my grandchildren, because I have always cared for others. I cooked for neighbors. I helped raise nieces and nephews. I gave advice in the market. I prayed with people when they were afraid. And the strangest thing is this. Until that day, I truly believed I had raised my children well. If you met my children, you would think they were good people. My son, Kunli, was tall and polite in public. He would greet elders with respect. My daughter, Bissy, could smile like a bright light. People would say, "Your children are so well behaved, Mama Sade." I used to smile and thank God. But you can hide many things behind a smile. That afternoon, tied to that pole, my body shaking from heat and fear, I tried to remember the last normal moment. I tried to hold it like a small light in my mind so I would not go crazy. It was only that same morning. I had woken up early, as I always did. I swept my small front yard. I boiled water for tea. I listened to the birds and the distant sound of motorbikes. My grandchildren were supposed to visit later that week. I was excited. I even set aside a little money to buy biscuits for them. Then my phone rang. It was Kunli. His voice sounded strange, like he was speaking through clenched teeth. "Mama, please. We need to see you today." I laughed softly. "Ah, my son. Why so serious? Is everything all right?" He paused. "We need to talk about something important. Bissy and I will come." When my children were small, they used to run into my arms like I was their safe place. When they grew older, they started coming only when they needed something. Still, I never complained. A mother's heart is like that. It can be tired and still keep loving. An hour later, they arrived together. That alone was unusual. My son and daughter had been fighting for months. They argued over money, over property, over silly things. They would not visit at the same time. But that day, they came as a team. Bissy walked in first. "Good morning, Mama." Kunli followed. "Good morning, Mama." I watched their faces closely. Their eyes looked tired. Their smiles looked forced. I asked them to sit. I poured tea. I tried to keep my voice calm. "Tell me what is happening." Kunli looked at Bissy, then back at me. "Mama, it is about father's land. My husband had died many years ago. Before he died, he left behind a piece of land outside town, near a place people called the Dry Road because it led toward a dusty, empty area. The land was not fully developed, but it was valuable because the government had been talking about new road projects. I had always planned to keep it safe for my grandchildren. I wanted it to be a family shield. Something that would help them if life became hard. I said, "What about the land?" Bissy leaned forward. "Mama, there is a chance to sell it now for a good price." "Very good price." I frowned. "Sell it? Why now? And who wants to buy?" Kunli spoke quickly. "A company. They need it for development. They are ready to pay cash." Something inside me tightened. I did not like how fast he spoke. I did not like how both of them avoided my eyes. I said, "If a company wants to buy, we will do things properly. Documents, lawyer, clear agreement." Bissy waved her hand as if I was being too slow. "Mama, that is why we came. We need you to sign some papers." I stared at her. "What papers?" Kunli reached into his bag and pulled out a file. He placed it on my small table like it was heavy. "It is just simple. You sign, and we can complete the process quickly. The buyer is in a hurry." I opened the file slowly. My eyes were not as sharp as they used to be, but I could still read. The paper looked official. It had stamps and big words. But something did not feel right. I said, "Where is the lawyer?" Kunli's jaw tightened. Mama, we do not need to involve too many people. It will delay. We already talked to someone who prepared it. Bissy added, you always make things hard, Mama. That hurt me. I did not shout. I just looked at my children and felt a quiet sadness. I said, I am not making things hard. I am being careful. This land is your father's legacy. Kunli's voice rose slightly. Mama, please. We need it. Need it for what? I wanted to ask, but I already knew. Kunli had lost his job months ago and had not told many people. Bissy's small business was failing. They were both drowning in money problems, and instead of telling me the truth, they wanted to pull me into something fast and secret. I closed the file and pushed it back. I will not sign today. Bring a lawyer. Let us talk again. Bissy's smile disappeared like a candle blown out. Mama, you are refusing to help us. I am refusing to rush, I replied. Kunli stood up suddenly. His chair scraped the floor. Mama, do you want to ruin everything for us? My heart thumped hard. Kunli, sit down. Why are you shouting? He did not sit. He paced like a restless animal. You think you are protecting something, but you are just being stubborn. Bissy stood too. Her voice became sharp. If you do not sign, you will regret it. I felt cold even though the day was warm. Why would I regret protecting my husband's land? Kunli leaned close to me. Because you do not understand the trouble we are in. I swallowed. What trouble? He looked away. His hands were shaking. It is not something you need to know. That sentence made my fear grow. When people refuse to explain, it usually means the truth is ugly. I stood up slowly. My son, my daughter, whatever you are involved in, tell me plainly. I am your mother. Bissy's eyes flickered. For a second, I saw panic. Then she covered it with anger. You do not trust us, Mama. I trust you, I said. But I do not trust secrets. Kunli grabbed the file again. Fine, we will come back. Bissy walked out first. Kunli followed. But before he left, he turned and said something that sounded like a warning. Do not talk to anyone about this land, Mama. Then he left. I stood there in my small living room, holding the edge of the table to steady myself. My tea had gone cold. My hands were trembling. After they left, I did what I always did when I felt unsure. I prayed. But prayer is not magic. Prayer gives you courage. It does not always give you answers right away. That evening, I decided to do something my children did not expect. I called an old friend of my husband, a man named Mr. Tunda, who worked around land matters. He was not a lawyer, but he knew how things worked. He listened carefully. Then he said, Mama Sade, do not sign anything until someone you trust reads it. Land scams are common. I told him about the stamps and the rush. He went quiet for a moment and then said, please describe the company. Name on the paper. I did. His voice changed. Mama, that name is connected to criminals. People use it to buy land quickly and turn it into illegal deals. Some people disappear after signing. My mouth went dry. Disappear. Yes. Mama, listen to me. Keep your land documents safe. And do not let your children pressure you. Something is wrong. I thanked him and hung up, my head spinning. That night, I did not sleep well. I kept remembering Kunli's eyes. Bissy's sharp voice. The way they came together like a planned team. In the morning, I locked my important documents in a small metal box under my bed. I told myself I was being wise, not paranoid. I even planned to go to a real lawyer later that week. But I did not get the chance. That afternoon, Kunli returned, alone this time. He said Bissy was waiting in the car. He smiled, but it was not a real smile. Mama, please, let us go and see the buyer. Just talk. No signing today. I hesitated. Where is the buyer? Kunli's smile tightened. Not far. We will drive. It will be quick. I should have said no. I should have listened to the warning inside my chest. But when your child looks at you like you are blocking their life, guilt can make you weak. I grabbed my scarf. I locked my door. I climbed into the car. As we drove, I noticed we were not going toward town. We were going away from people. Away from shops. Away from houses. I said, Kunli, where are we going? He kept his eyes on the road. Mama, relax. My heart began to pound. Then the road became dusty. Then it became empty. Then I saw the desert-like land stretching far, with a few poles standing like lonely guards. I tried to open my door. The child lock was on. My breath caught. I said, "Kunli, stop this car." He did not stop. And that is how, only hours later, I ended up tied to a power pole, abandoned in the desert by the children I gave my life to. The sun began to drop. The heat started turning into cold. My lips cracked. My throat burned with thirst. My mind started to float between anger and confusion. Then I heard something else. A car. Not Kunli's car. Another car. Coming closer. And a voice I did not recognize called out into the empty land. "Hello. Is someone there?" My heart jumped with hope, but fear rose too. Because I did not know if this was help, or the reason I was left there in the first place. And as the car door slammed and footsteps approached, I realized something that made my blood run cold. The person coming was holding the same file Kunli had brought to my house. The footsteps stopped a few meters from me. The sand shifted under shoes. I tried to lift my head, but my neck ached and my eyes were swollen from dust and tears. A man's voice spoke calmly, almost kindly. "Mama, you must be tired." I blinked hard, trying to see him clearly. He was tall, wearing a cap and dark glasses. He looked like someone who could stand in the sun all day and feel nothing. "Who are you?" I croaked. My voice sounded weak, like it belonged to someone else. He laughed softly. "Do not strain yourself. My name is Mr. Ojo. I am here to help you." Help. The word sounded sweet. But his smile did not match it. He held up the file. "We only need your signature. That is all. Then you can go home." I stared at him. "Where are my children?" He shrugged. "They did what they needed to do. Do not blame them too much. Life can push people to do foolish things." My chest tightened. "What foolish things?" Mr. Ojo crouched near me, careful not to dirty his trousers. "They owe money. Big money. The kind of money that brings trouble to your door." I remembered Kunli's shaking hands. Bissie's panic hidden under anger. I swallowed. "Oh who?" He leaned closer. "People who do not like waiting." The wind blew again, and I shivered. My wrists hurt. My throat hurt. My heart hurt most of all. I said, "If they owe money, why not come to me and tell me?" Mr. Ojo laughed, louder this time. "Because they were ashamed, Mama. And because they thought you would refuse. Just like you did." I closed my eyes for a second. I tried to think. I tried to stay calm. Fear can make your brain stop working, but I forced myself to breathe slowly. I said, "Untie me. Bring me water. Then we can talk like humans." He shook his head. "You sign first." I opened my eyes again. "If I sign, what happens?" He tapped the file. "You transfer the land. The land becomes ours. Then your children's debt is cleared. They go free. You go free." I stared at him. "And if I do not sign?" He stood up and dusted his hands. "Then you stay here." I tried not to panic. "You will kill me." He tilted his head. "The desert will do whatever it does. We are not killers, Mama. We just solve problems." That sentence chilled me. People who say they are not killers are often worse, because they feel innocent while doing evil. I whispered, "God." Mr. Ojo sighed like he was tired of my drama. "Mama, please. Make it easy. Think of your grandchildren. Think of Kunli and Bissie. Do you want them to suffer? Do you want them to go to jail? Or worse?" My mind spun. Grandchildren. Jail. Worse. He opened the file and flipped to a page. He pulled out a pen. "Just sign," he said. I looked at the paper. The words were difficult, but the meaning was clear enough. It was not only about selling land. It was giving full control. It was handing over everything, forever. I shook my head. "No." His smile disappeared. "Mama, you are stubborn." "I am not stubborn," I said, my voice shaking. "I am protecting what your hands should not touch." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he stood, walked back to his car, and opened the trunk. My heart jumped. Was he bringing a weapon? But he brought out something else. A bottle of water. Hope rose in me, bright and painful. Then he poured it into the sand, slowly, like he was watering the ground. I gasped. "Please." He watched me with cold eyes. "You see, I can be kind. Or I can be, not kind." He put the bottle away and walked back toward me. He crouched again and spoke quietly. One more chance, Mama. Sign, and I will untie you. Refuse, and I will leave. Maybe another person will come. Maybe not. My throat burned so badly I felt like I was swallowing fire. Tears ran down my cheeks, leaving wet lines through the dust. I thought of my husband, how he had trusted me to guard what he built. I thought of my grandchildren, their small hands holding mine. I thought of Kunli and Bissy as children, sleeping on my lap. And I thought of the truth. If I sign under fear, evil learns that fear works. It grows bigger. I whispered, no, Mr. Ojo's face hardened. He stood up sharply. Fine. He walked back to his car, got in, and started the engine. The sound of it felt like a door closing forever. I shouted, wait. He paused, then leaned out of the car window. Yes. I swallowed, forcing words out of my dry mouth. If you truly want the land, do it properly. Bring the law. Bring papers. Bring a lawyer. Do not do this. He smiled again, slow and cruel. Mama, the law is slow. We are fast. Then he drove away. The dust rose again, and I watched the car become smaller, smaller, until it disappeared like a bad dream. But it was not a dream. I was still tied. My body started shaking. The sun was lower now. The heat faded. Cold air crept in. Desert nights are like that. They punish you twice. I whispered again, God, if this is the end, please let it be quick. My mind drifted. I remembered stories from my childhood. About people surviving in strange ways. I remembered my father saying, when you are in danger, use your head, not only your tears. I looked around as much as I could. The pole had metal bolts. The rope was thick but old. The knot was tight. I tried rubbing the rope against the rough part of the pole. Pain shot through my wrists. But the rope moved a little. I kept rubbing. Minutes felt like hours. Then I heard something faint. A sound like an engine, far away. At first, I thought it was my imagination. Then it came closer. I squinted. I saw a small motorcycle, bouncing on the dusty road. A man rode it. Behind him, a teenage boy held onto his waist. They slowed when they saw me. The man jumped off the bike quickly. Mama, what happened? I tried to speak but only a weak sound came out. The teenage boy ran to me. Papa, she is tied. The man's face changed to anger and fear. He began to untie me, working fast. As the rope loosened, pain rushed into my arms like needles. I cried out softly. The man supported me. Mama, who did this to you? I could barely breathe. I whispered, my children. His eyes widened. Your own children. I nodded weakly. The teenage boy looked shocked. That is wicked. The man helped me sit on the ground, leaning against the pole. He gave me water. I drank so fast I choked. Slowly, he said, you are safe now. Safe. The word felt impossible. He introduced himself. My name is Ibrahim. I am a farmer. This is my son, Musa. We were coming back from checking our goats. I held the bottle with shaking hands. Thank you. Ibrahim looked around, scanning the empty land. This place is not safe. We must take you to the clinic. I shook my head slowly. No, take me to the police. He hesitated. Mama, the police station is far. Please, I said. If I do not speak now, they will do worse. He nodded. All right. He lifted me carefully. My legs were weak, but I forced myself to stand. Musa helped on the other side. They guided me to the motorcycle. Ibrahim gave me his helmet, and Musa held me steady. The ride was painful and cold as the sun fell, but my mind was sharper now. Because one thing was clear. My children had tried to sell me along with the land. And I needed to know why. As we reached the edge of town, Ibrahim spoke over his shoulder. Mama, when we reach the police, they will ask questions. Are you ready to tell the truth? I swallowed. My voice was stronger now. Yes. But just as the lights of the police station came into view, my phone, which had been in my handbag, started ringing again and again. I looked at the screen through blurry eyes. It was Bissy. Then it rang again. Kumli. Ibrahim glanced back. Should you answer? My stomach twisted. If I answered, they would know I was alive. They might run. They might hide evidence. They might come for me again. If I did not answer, they might panic and do something even worse. I stared at the screen, trembling. Then I saw something that made my blood freeze. A message popped up from Kunli. Mama, please, do not go to the police. If you talk, they will kill Bissy. The motorcycle stopped in front of the police station, but I did not move right away. My whole body felt heavy, as if fear had turned into stones inside me. Ibrahim held the handlebar steady. Musa stood beside me, watching my face closely. I stared at Kunli's message again. Mama, please, do not go to the police. If you talk, they will kill Bissy. My mind raced. Was it true? Was it another lie to silence me? Ibrahim frowned. Mama, what is wrong? I showed him the message. His face tightened. This is serious. Musa looked confused. Why would someone kill her? I whispered, because they are in something bad. I stepped down slowly, my legs trembling. The station lights hurt my eyes. People moved inside, talking, laughing, living normal life. It felt strange that the world could be normal when my world had nearly ended. Ibrahim guided me inside. A police officer at the desk looked up. Yes, madam. I tried to speak, but my throat tightened again. Ibrahim stepped forward. Officer, we found this woman tied to a power pole in the dry road area. She says her children did it. The officer's expression changed from boredom to surprise. Tied. He stood up quickly. Madam, what is your name? Sade, I whispered. People call me Grandma Sade. He brought me water and told me to sit. Another officer came. They asked questions. I told them the truth in simple words. My children came to my house. They wanted me to sign land papers. I refused. Later they tricked me into a car. They drove me to the dry road. They tied me to a power pole and left. The officers looked at each other. One asked, did they hit you? No, I said, but they left me to die. Another asked, why would they do this? I shook my head. I do not know everything yet. But a man came after them. He wanted my signature. He said they owed big money. The first officer leaned forward. What man? Mr. Ojo, I said. That is what he called himself. At the name, the officer's eyes narrowed. Ojo, are you sure? Yes. He stood up and walked away quickly. Ibrahim whispered, Mama, you are doing the right thing. But my heart was not calm. Kunli's message kept ringing in my head. If you talk, they will kill Bissy. I asked the officer quietly, can you protect my daughter? He looked at me sharply. Your daughter helped tie you. You were worried about her. I looked down. She is still my child. And there are grandchildren. The officer sighed. We will do what we can. But you must tell us everything, madam. No hiding. I nodded. So I told them more. I told them how Kunli and Bissy rushed me. How they refused a lawyer. How they tried to make me feel guilty. How Mr. Tunda warned me about the company name. The officers took notes. Then one officer returned with a phone in his hand. Madam Sade, do you know this man? He showed me a photo. My stomach dropped. It was Mr. Ojo. The officer said, we have a file on him. He works with land fraud and loan sharks. If he was involved, this is bigger than family trouble. My skin went cold. The officer continued, we need to bring your children in for questioning immediately. I swallowed. Please, if you bring them, do not let Mr. Ojo reach them first. The officer nodded, but his face was serious. Madam, there is something you must understand. Your children may not be victims. They may be partners. Partners. That word hit me like a slap. I did not want to believe it. I wanted to believe my children were trapped and scared. But I remembered Bissy's warning voice. I remembered Kunli's hard eyes in the car. I remembered the child lock on my door. I asked, can I call Kunli? The officer hesitated. Why? Because he said they will kill Bissy if I talk, I said. I need to know where she is. The officer agreed, but he put the phone on speaker so they could listen. I dialed Kunli. It rang twice. Then Kunli answered. His voice sounded frantic. Mama. I tried to keep my voice steady. Kunli, where is your sister? He paused. Mama, please, do not do this. Please come home. We can talk. I swallowed. Kunli, you tied me. You left me. Now you want me to come home. His breathing sounded heavy. Mama, it was not like that. We had no choice. No choice. My voice rose. You could have begged me. You could have told me the truth. You could have asked for help. He spoke quickly. Mama, you do not understand. We borrowed money from a group. They are dangerous. They said if we do not bring the land papers, they will ruin us. I asked, so you decided to ruin me? He sounded like he was crying. Mama, I am sorry. The officer leaned close and spoke into the phone. Kunli, this is the police. Where are you? The line went silent. Then Kunli hung up. My heart dropped again. The officer stood up fast. He knows you are here. He will run. Another officer picked up a radio. Send a team to Kunli's address and Bissi's address now. I sat there shaking, holding my hands together so tight my fingers hurt. Ibrahim put a hand on my shoulder. Mama, breathe. But I could not relax. Because now my children knew I had survived. And if they were truly partners with Mr. Ojo, then they would not stop easily. A few hours passed. The officers asked more questions. They took photos of the rope marks on my wrists. A female officer brought me food, but I could not eat much. Then, late in the night, the officers returned from the first search. Their faces were tense. One officer said, Madam Sade, Kunli's house is empty. He left in a hurry. Another said, Bissi's house is also empty. Neighbors said she left earlier today with 2 men in a dark car. My stomach twisted. 2 men. The officer nodded. Yes. They did not look like family. My hands began to shake harder. The officer continued, we found something else at Kunli's place. A bag of documents. Copies of your land papers. I stared at him. How? My metal box at home. Under my bed. I suddenly understood. Kunli had been inside my house after leaving me. He had stolen copies. Or worse, he had taken the real thing. I whispered, my documents. The officer looked at me. Madam, do you have them with you? I shook my head slowly. They were at home. Locked. He frowned. We need to secure your home. Ibrahim stood up. Officer, I can take her to my house. It is safer than leaving her alone. The officer nodded. Yes. We will assign patrol. I looked up sharply. No, I want to go to my house now. The officer hesitated. Madam, it is late. And it may not be safe. I forced my voice to be firm. My home has my records, my husband's things, my life. If they are inside, they will destroy evidence. The officer agreed, but they insisted on escorting me. So, in the middle of the night, with police lights behind us, we drove toward my small house. As we turned onto my street, my heart sank. My front door was open. The lock looked broken. The officer's hand went to his belt. Stay behind us, madam. We stepped inside carefully. My living room was a mess. Cushions thrown. Drawers pulled out. My metal box was gone. I felt dizzy. I leaned against the wall. The officer searched quickly. Then he called out, there is something on the table. He pointed. On my table, where my tea had been that morning, there was a new paper. It was clean and fresh, placed neatly like a message. It had one sentence written in bold letters. Sign, or the next poll will be for your grandchild. I could not breathe for a moment. My ears rang. The room felt like it was shrinking around me. The officer picked up the paper carefully, as if it could bite. I whispered, my grandchild. Ibrahim's face tightened with anger. These people are monsters. The officer looked at me. Madam Sade, do you have your grandchildren with you? No, I said quickly. They live with their mother in another area. They were supposed to visit next week. The officer nodded. Good. We must keep them there. We must alert their mother. My hands shook as I reached for my phone. The screen had cracks, but it still worked. I called my daughter-in-law, Kunli's wife, Amina. She answered sleepily. Hello. Amina, I said, my voice trembling. It is Mama Sade. She went quiet, then sounded alert. Mama, are you okay? Kunli said you traveled. Traveled. Even now, he was lying. I said, listen to me carefully. Do not open your door to anyone tonight. Do not let the children go outside. Keep them close. Amina's voice turned scared. Mama, what is going on? I took a breath. I spoke plainly. Kunli and Bissi are in trouble with criminals. They tried to force me to sign land papers. They threatened the children. Amina gasped. What? Kunli would never. I cut in gently but firmly. Amina, I love my son, but you must protect the children first. Do you understand? She began to cry. Yes, Mama, yes. The officer took my phone and spoke to her too, giving official instructions. After the call, the officer turned to me. "Madam, we need to move you to a safe place immediately." I looked around my broken home, my husband's photo on the wall looking down like a silent witness. My heart ached. I said, "They want the land. They want it fast." "Why?" The officer nodded. "That is what we are trying to confirm. But I suspect something." "What?" I asked. He looked at the papers they had recovered from Kunli's house. "These are not normal sale papers. They mention access rights, heavy equipment entry, and a time limit." I frowned. "What does that mean?" He said, "It could mean they plan to use the land for illegal dumping, illegal mining, or something connected to government contracts and fraud. The rush suggests the land is needed for something happening soon." My stomach turned. "So they are not just selling. They are using it to do crime." The officer nodded. "Yes. And your children may have been promised money if they deliver your signature." I closed my eyes. My chest felt heavy with grief. I remembered Kunli as a boy, asking me to bless him before school. I remembered Bissy singing in the kitchen. How did we get here? We left my house and went to Ibrahim's home, a modest place on the edge of town. His wife, Zainab, gave me clean clothes and warm tea. She looked at my wrists and shook her head. "Only God," she whispered. That night, I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the power pole. I felt the rope. I heard Kunli's car driving away. In the early morning, the police called. They had news. They said, "Madam Sade, we tracked a call from Kunli's phone. It connected to a warehouse near the old market." I sat up. "What about Bissy?" The officer's voice was tense. "We do not know yet. But we are moving." I insisted on coming. They refused at first, but I would not accept no. "I am the reason they are doing this," I said. "I need to be there." The officer agreed, but only if I stayed in the car with another officer. We drove to the warehouse area. The sun was rising, painting everything pale gold, as if the world was innocent. But it was not. We parked far. Officers moved quietly. I watched through the window, my heart pounding. Then I saw Kunli. He was outside the warehouse, walking back and forth like a trapped man. His face looked thin. His shoulders were slumped. An officer whispered, "That is him." Kunli pulled out his phone and made a call. He looked toward the road, like he was waiting for someone. Then a dark car arrived. My stomach tightened. It was the same kind of car the neighbor described at Bissy's house. Two men stepped out. And then Bissy stepped out too. She looked different. Her hair was messy. Her eyes looked swollen, like she had been crying. But she was walking on her own feet. Relief rushed through me so hard I almost cried out. Then I saw what broke my relief. Bissy was holding a small backpack. The kind my grandson used for school. My hands flew to my mouth. The officer beside me swore. Under his breath, "They have a child." I shook my head. "No, no, they said the child is safe with Amina." The officer said, "Unless they took one already." My heart felt like it stopped. Kunli stepped forward to meet Bissy. They spoke quickly. I could not hear the words, but I could see fear in their movements. Then one of the men, the taller one, raised his hand and slapped Kunli. Kunli stumbled back. Bissy screamed and reached toward him, but the other man grabbed her arm and yanked her close. My breath came in short bursts. The officer spoke into his radio. "Confirm hostage. Move in." But the officers did not rush. They were waiting for the right moment, because if they moved too fast, the criminals might harm the child. My hands shook. Tears filled my eyes. I whispered, "God, please." Inside the warehouse, I saw movement through a broken window. A small shape. A child. My heart shattered. It was Musa, Ibrahim's son. The boy who had helped save me. How could he be there? I turned to the officer, shocked. "That is Musa." The officer's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "Yes," I cried. "That is the boy who rescued me. They took him." My mind raced. Now it made sense. The criminals wanted to punish Ibrahim for helping me. They wanted to send a message to anyone who dared to interfere. And they were using Musa as bait. I wanted to run out of the car. The officer held me back. "Madam, you cannot go," he said. "You will make it worse." But then something happened that none of us expected. Kunli suddenly shouted at the men. He grabbed the file from Bissy's hand and threw it on the ground. He pointed at the warehouse and screamed, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I will not do it. I will not sign. She is my mother. You were evil." The taller man stepped forward and pulled something from his waistband. Not a gun. A knife. He pressed it against Kunli's throat. Bissy cried, "Kunli." And from inside the warehouse, Musa began to scream. The officer beside me whispered, "If we move now, someone dies." And at that exact moment, my phone buzzed again. A new message appeared from an unknown number. It said, "Come out, old woman. You will sign in front of everyone." My whole body went cold, but my mind became strangely clear. Fear can make you freeze, but it can also make you focus like a sharp blade. I looked at the officer beside me. "They want me." He shook his head. "Madam, you cannot go." I spoke firmly, in the calm voice I used when children were fighting. "Listen, they are not going to stop because I hide in a car. They already have Musa. They have my children trapped. If the police rush, someone might be hurt. If I go out, I can buy time." The officer frowned. "Buy time for what?" "For you to get Musa out," I said. "And for my children to be separated from those men." The officer stared at me. "This is dangerous." "I know," I said. "But I am already in danger. Musa is an innocent child. He saved me. I cannot let him pay for my problem." The officer spoke into his radio quietly, giving quick instructions. I could see other officers moving into positions, like shadows. They were preparing for a controlled move, but they needed something to distract the criminals. I was the distraction. I opened the car door slowly and stepped out. The morning air felt cool on my skin, but my palms were sweating. I raised my hand slightly so people could see I was not holding anything. Kunli's head turned. His eyes widened. His mouth opened like he wanted to scream, no, but he did not. Bissy saw me too. Her face crumpled. The taller man looked pleased. He smiled like a person who enjoys control. He called out, "Ah, Mama Sade. You finally decided to be reasonable." I walked forward slowly, keeping my voice steady. "Let the boy go first." He laughed. "You are still negotiating." I stopped a few steps away. "Yes, I am a mother. And a grandmother. I will always negotiate for a child." He stepped closer. "You will sign, and we release him." I shook my head. "No, you release him, and then we talk." His smile faded. He pressed the knife closer to Kunli's throat. "One word from you, and your son bleeds." My heart twisted, but I kept my face calm. "If you hurt him, you lose what you want. You know that." He stared at me for a moment. He did not like that I was thinking. Then I did something I had never done before in my life. I lied, carefully. I said, "The land papers you stole are not complete. The original document has a second page that only I know where it is. Without it, your transfer will be challenged in court. You will lose time. You will lose money." The man's eyes narrowed. "You were lying." I kept my voice even. "Try it and see." This was the miracle part people do not always understand. Sometimes a miracle is not a bright light from the sky. Sometimes it is courage. Sometimes it is wisdom that appears at the right time. The man hesitated. I continued, "I will cooperate only if Musa is released now. Not later. Now." The shorter man muttered something to him. They argued quietly for a moment. They were criminals, but they were also practical. They did not want the police to have time to build a stronger case, and they did not want a dead son in front of witnesses. Finally, the taller man snapped his fingers and shouted toward the warehouse door. "Bring the boy." The warehouse door opened. Musa stumbled out, his hands tied in front, his face streaked with tears and dust. He looked terrified. I felt my chest crack open, but I forced myself not to run. The taller man grabbed Musa's shoulder and pulled him forward like a sack of grain. "Sign," the man said. "Now." I looked at Musa. "My child, walk to the police car. Slowly. Do not run. Go." Musa's eyes met mine. He nodded slightly, trembling. The taller man shoved him. Musa began to walk. At that moment, the officer in my car opened the door slightly and whispered into his radio. Officers shifted. Two moved quietly behind stacked crates. Another circled toward the warehouse entrance. Musa kept walking. Step by step. When he got close enough, an officer rushed out, grabbed him, and pulled him behind cover. Musa was safe. The taller man's face twisted with rage. You tricked me. Before he could react, the police moved in. Fast, organized, loud. Drop it. Drop the knife. The shorter man ran toward the warehouse, but two officers tackled him. The taller man tried to pull Kunli as a shield, but Kunli suddenly dropped his weight and twisted away, forcing the man off balance. The knife fell. An officer kicked it away. Within seconds, the taller man was pinned to the ground, handcuffed, shouting curses. The area filled with noise, radios, footsteps, shouting. Then it became quiet in a strange way, like the air itself was holding a breath. Kunli fell to his knees, shaking. Bissy collapsed on the ground, crying. I stood there, still and tired, my heart beating hard. One officer walked up to me. Madam Sade, are you okay? I nodded, but tears finally spilled. No, I whispered. But Musa is alive. They brought Musa to Ibrahim, who arrived running, wild with fear. Father and son held each other and cried. That was one part of the miracle. Now came the part that would hurt. The police took Kunli and Bissy in too. Not as victims, as suspects. I watched my children being placed in a police vehicle. Kunli looked back at me, his face full of shame. He said, Mama, I am sorry. I did not shout. I did not slap him. I did not curse him. I only said, tell the truth. That is the only road left. Later, at the station, they confessed everything plainly. Here is what happened, clearly, with no guessing. Kunli lost his job and began borrowing money to pretend he was still fine. He did not want people to laugh at him. He did not want his wife to know how bad it was. Bissy's business failed, and she borrowed money too, trying to bounce back quickly. She felt jealous of friends who looked successful. She wanted fast results. They both borrowed from the same criminal group connected to Mr. Ojo. The group offered easy money with big interest. When Kunli and Bissy could not repay, the group demanded something else. They demanded land. Not just any land. My husband's land. Because the group was planning an illegal deal. They wanted to use the land as a hidden place for dumping stolen materials and storing equipment tied to a fake road contract. They needed the land quickly because inspectors were coming soon, and they wanted to move before anyone noticed. Kunli and Bissy were told, bring your mother's signature, or you will suffer. Instead of coming to me honestly, they made a plan. They told themselves a dangerous story to feel better. They told themselves, Mama will be fine. We will only scare her. We will come back. But they did more than scare me. They tied me to a pole and left me, because the criminals told them to break my will. They were not only afraid. They were also greedy. Because the criminals promised them money too. They promised them enough money to pay debts and start over. So my children chose money and fear over my life. And when I refused to sign even in the desert, the criminals got angry and decided to punish the people who helped me. That is why they kidnapped Musa. They wanted to teach Ibrahim a lesson and force me to sign in public. But the police were already tracking Mr. Ojo. My report gave them the final opening. The officers confirmed the warehouse location through phone signals and informants. My willingness to step out bought them the seconds they needed to rescue Musa and arrest the men without a tragedy. That is the full truth. The consequences came next. Mr. Ojo and his men were charged with kidnapping, attempted fraud, and multiple other crimes linked to earlier land scams. Kunli and Bissy were charged too. The judge did not treat them as innocent children. The judge said something that hurt me but was true. Being someone's child does not give you the right to destroy them. Kunli's wife, Amina, was devastated. She moved with the children to her mother's house for safety and peace. She told me, Mama, I never knew. I am sorry. I hugged her and said, protect the children. That is what matters now. As for the land, the police helped me secure it properly. A real lawyer reviewed everything. We placed stronger legal protection. We created a clear plan so my grandchildren would benefit safely in the future, without secret signatures. One day, months later, I visited Kunli and Bissy in the correctional center before sentencing. They looked smaller, like fear and shame had squeezed them. Bissy cried and said, Mama, I thought you would forgive me if we fixed everything after. I answered in the clearest way a mother can. Some things cannot be fixed after. Some choices cannot be undone. Kunli whispered, I did not want you to die. I looked at him and said, but you accepted a plan where I could die. That is the same thing. They both cried harder. I cried too. Because this was not the ending I wanted as a mother. But it was the ending we earned with truth. After everything, people in town treated me differently. Some pitied me. Some were shocked. Some whispered behind my back, as people do. But I learned something important. Silence is dangerous. If I had stayed quiet because I was ashamed, Mr. Ojo would still be free. Musa might not be alive. My grandchildren might have become the next victims. Speaking up was painful, but it saved lives. That became the lesson of my story. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong, even if the pressure comes from family. And do not protect wrongdoing just because it shares your blood. Months later, Ibrahim and his family came to my house for a meal. Musa sat beside me, eating rice and smiling softly, still a little quieter than before, but alive. I held his hand and said, You helped save me. He shook his head. No, Grandma, God saved you. I smiled, because that was true too. God saved me through people, through courage, through a moment of clear thinking, and through the decision to tell the truth. That is what changed everything. Not revenge with violence, but revenge with truth. The kind of truth that stops evil from growing. The kind of truth that protects children. And the kind of truth that reminds the world that even a grandmother, even an old woman left in the desert, can still stand up, speak up, and survive.